Leader Fan Radio Network.
The stories a stadium could tell.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes, 41 seconds past 3 o'clock. Central Standard Time. Bumper to Bumper show is live. It's local. It's on the air for the next, I think we're going the distance tonight, right? 3.5. There's no hockey tonight. There's no hoops tonight, is there? Unless I'm forgetting about Golden Gopher men's basketball.
I believe we're going the distance.
The distance. It's been a while since we've gone the distance on this program. You already heard from Brett Blakemore is in for Guardsy, who is tracking Golden Gopher women's basketball. I think they're playing at the University of Kansas. Or is it University of Kansas or KU? I can't remember. Is it Kansas University or the University of Kansas?
Looks like Kansas, the Jayhawks.
But, I mean, where does the U part go? In front of them? Because, like, Indiana University is Indiana University. It's not the University of Indiana. University of Minnesota is University of Minnesota. It's not Minnesota University, right? Kansas, I can't remember. We'll find out. It is KU. Fair enough. So Guardsy's out today. He's out tomorrow. And then he's out Friday tracking Golden Gopher football, headed to Chicago for a big showdown against Northwestern on Saturday at Wrigley Field. I wonder if we have anybody in our audience. I'm not even sure you have to be a massive Gophers fan to say, weekend in Chicago and a football game at Wrigley? Yeah, I'll raise my hand for that. I bet you there's got to be a few people who may have planned that sometime ago. Seems like it'd be a very good opportunity. I've never seen football. Well, you know what? That's not true. I have seen. This is how old I am. I saw a football game at Wrigley Field in the mid-'60s. Because once upon a time, of course, before they went to Soldier Field, that's where the Bears played. So I have seen football at Wrigley Field. And I must tell you, it may have been the worst vantage point from which I ever saw a game in person. It was a seat, and I'm talking about like card table chair kind of a seat, on the field, which sounds good, but it really wasn't, because there were a couple rows in front of me, and it was almost like we were on a hill going down towards the Cubs dugout. So I don't know if I can even tell you how much of the game I actually saw from that vantage point. I think the seats have improved there. The sight lines have improved there as well. And we can only hope that the Golden Gophers can get it done to go to a meaningless bowl game, as they are wont to do. I'm the former Ink Stain Retch newspaper of the Twin Cities. My name is Dan Barreiro. Good program today. Kevin Seifert, not in studio, but he will join by telephone beginning at 4:15 today, and I think Luigi is scheduled for 5:30. Do you have confirmation on Louie?
I don't, but I'll reach out.
You reach out. You expect it to get done. The Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open at 64686. That is 64686. And the texts are already coming in, and we love them, and we can't get enough of them as well. What year were you born?
96.
So you would have been. Well, you're probably a bad test case because you didn't even grow up at any point a Vikings fan, correct?
No,
there was nothing in there, even though you grew up here, right?
I grew up in Iowa.
Oh, that's right. You grew up in Iowa. So when did you move here?
6, almost 7 years ago.
You're definitely not one of us.
No.
I thought you went a little further back than that. That's interesting.
I mean, I came up here all the time for Wild games.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Not so much for Vikings games.
Well, unless it's green and gold are playing.
So you may be a bad test case. I bet you we've got, how many kids in our audience remember the 2000 season for the Minnesota Vikings? If you're old enough, I'm sure you remember it well. But if you're a kid, you might not have much recollection of it. And you may say, Dan, why are you waxing nostalgic about 2000? Minnesota Vikings football season, by the way, that did end in what we say in the business calamity, 41 donut loss in the NFC title game to the New York Giants, a game that shall live in Minnesota Vikings infamy. Well, I think there is some relevance, though, which we touched on yesterday in our conversation, our wide-ranging, freewheeling conversation with Chris Carter, who joined us between 5 and about 5:40. I took it about as long as I could. I wanted to go longer, but we were going to run out of time because we were out at 6:15. And what makes it relevant is that year, 2000, the Vikings handed the keys to a young quarterback in his second year. Year one, he basically sat. I think he got in briefly one game in 99. But basically, the Vikings sat him. And they handed him the keys in 2000. We're going with the kid. We're going with Dante Culpepper. And I know this is going to be painful for the McBobos, who are very sensitive right now. Their undies are in a bunch. They're in a twist. There's no question about that. And by the way, I'll mention again, I endorsed the McCarthy signing, or I should say drafting. Still think he's got a chance to be a damn good quarterback. But I'm also, I think, pretty intent on following the story and paying attention to what's in front of me. And as even Chris Carter said yesterday, it's a results-oriented league no matter what season in your history you are. They play the games, they record the games, you watch the games, you get to react to what you see. And I'm wondering if the McBobos, if any of them have spent any time, well, I know they haven't, tracking Dante Culpepper's first season as a highly touted, but not as highly touted as J.J. McCarthy quarterback coming out of college. For the season, he played in all 16 games. He completed 62.7% of his passes, which is not very good today, then was considered okay. But he threw for 33 touchdowns and 16 picks. And he threw for almost 4,000 yards in his first year, 3,937 yards. His quarterback rating, his first year, it takes everybody forever to figure the whole thing out. His first year with no experience the year before, none. Old-fashioned quarterback rating was 98.0. 98.0. That is a few points ahead of JJ early. JJ is at 61.7. JJ in 5 games has half as many interceptions as Dante Culpepper finished that season playing 16 games. You can do the math on that as well. And then we have the people who go, what did he do in his first few games? I have those too. If you want, we can do the game log approach. Dante's first game, a thrilling 30-27 victory over the Bears. In fact, I think that matchup, the Bears had a left-handed quarterback whose name I think was Cade McNown. Will you double-check the name? What was the name of the Bears quarterback in the year? Is it Cade McNown?
Cade McNown.
Okay, he's a lefty. So it was a battle against young quarterbacks. And Dante was, in his first game, 13 for 23, 190. He did throw a pick. Also ran 13 times for 73 yards. Have you ever seen Dante play? He's enormous. He was a giant of a guy, 6'5", built like a linebacker. He went about 240, and he could move. Dante Culpepper, before injury, could bleep and move. Second game of his career, 23 for 37, 355 yards, and another 37 yards rushing. 1 touchdown, 3 picks, so he could throw a pick. His third game on the road at New England, 19 for 28, 177, 2 touchdowns. 1 pick, also rushed 12 times for 59 yards. I think of those sorts of numbers early. And by the way, the Vikings that year, with Dante as their starting quarterback, began the season 6-0 before they lost their first game. 6-0. I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine if JJ had started with those kinds of numbers, what folks would be doing? But there is a lesson here, a message that just because you want to scratch the itch of, well, let me compare, I'll pick the quarterbacks I'll compare them to, and I'm going to find quarterbacks who were awful originally. We can play that game, and I'm playing it today, but how about if it's not quite as much fun if we pick another quarterback with no more experience as a pro quarterback, who in his first year never looked at any point as in over his head as JJ has through most of the start of his first season as the big-time quarterback. So be careful assuming that because you get to choose conveniently the ones you want to pick to make your case better, that, well, look at the guy in Buffalo. Look how he started. The moral of the story, we can all find people to make whatever our argument is. And in this case, this was a Vikings quarterback. And I have to admit, I forgot just how composed and unintimidated and as adult a quarterback he looked in that first year. And I eventually had to apologize because I wanted the Vikings for that draft to pick, what was the name? It was a pass rushing demon that ended up going to the Tennessee Titans. The name will come to me in a minute. And the Vikings needed an outside pass rusher. And they instead took Dante. And in the short run, I thought it was a bad move because I thought, well, this team's ready to make a run if they have another edge rusher. But it was hard to argue once you started seeing Dante play that the Vikings, because quarterback's such an important position, that they made the right move with Dante. Now, what happened to Dante is he became a little more inconsistent and he got hurt because he even had a better year than year one. His second year in the league, but year one as a starting quarterback. And it should be, because I don't know why this is, but we talk all the time about, we use the Christian Ponder comparison, but we never use the Dante one. The whole idea on Dante was the Vikings need a franchise quarterback because under Denny, they'd used everybody. Sean Salisbury, our guy, Rich Gannon, Jim McMahon, Jeff George. So they went through that same phase that the Vikings have been through. And by the way, had some success with those quarterbacks, or at least enough to keep themselves in the mix. So history may be repeating itself, but it goes back to then, certainly. And the Dante story is a reminder that there's no young quarterback is obligated to play badly in his first year. You could say, well, the league was different then. I would argue that the league is actually set up for greater passing for quarterback success now than it was then, because it wasn't considered as much of a passing league at that point as it would become. But be careful on who you pick. And just remember, we all can play the game of who we want to compare him to. And from day one, there was nothing in the Dante resume that even comes close to, and the head coach did it again today. He did it again today. Let me see if I can find it. I saved it. One thing Vikings fans can look for when he gets to the top of his drops, we're really trying to see if we can get him to be a little bit more in a repeatable body position. Now, I'm not saying that's not true, but I am again here to say that doesn't do his quarterback any favors. That sounds like he's talking about a middle school quarterback, a junior high quarterback. We got to keep telling him now, more repeatable body position. I don't think that came up with Dante Culpepper in the exact same position many, many years ago. Well, now what? 25 years ago that J.J. McCarthy is right now. Let's go to 27, and then we'll catch up. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open, 646-87. No, 64686. What am I talking about? I don't know why I put a 7 on there. and they're already, as I said, kind of pouring in. There's not any question that the Vikings have no choice but to continue to play JJ. I don't think playing Brosmer makes any sense. I know it's a great angle locally. I like Brosmer. I'm not sure I invested in Brownstones to the degree that Garzi did, but I liked him as a Gopher. We lauded him. We lauded the Vikings' decision to bring him in, to take a look at him, and we were not surprised when he made the roster. He seems to have a little something. But let's be clear about something at this point. The rest of this year, especially if the team is going to fade into non-playoff obscurity, has to be about finding out whether this is the guy, or you see enough from this guy to think we can continue to invest in the guy. Because I will tell you that if you don't see a certain measure of improvement, then I think you have to open the door to any number of possibilities for next year, including bringing in somebody else to contend for the job, or at least have a chance to vie for the job. But there's no doubt, maybe Brosmer even plays better for a game. This team has invested everything into the concept of J.J. McCarthy being the guy. And so you can't suddenly deviate from that on the basis of what we have seen to this point, which at times has been quite alarming. Historic. Again, we've laid out some of these numbers before that even by young quarterback standards go to another level in terms of accuracy. What he has done, not always, by the way, against pressure, etc. You have to continue to find out. You have to let him play through it if he at all can. But you're also allowed, even if you've invested in him to the degree you have, to evaluate. And you got to have, by the end of this season, honest conversations about, we see enough. It's a bad start. We saw some things, though, as the season went on that he started figuring out. Therefore, he's our guy next year, and we're going to go forward with that. I agree with Chris Carter. At the very least, if you're not going to bring somebody in to compete next year, if he continues to struggle, then you have to, regardless, bring in somebody to be a veteran backup who's better than the veterans that the Vikings have tended to use to this point. Who that is, I don't know. There's a lot of ways to look at that. But the people that they brought in this offseason didn't make any sense. Carson Wentz probably was an upgrade over, who was the guy we ended up trading, the backup quarterback who was terrible.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, thank you. Somebody presumably and hopefully a little bit better than that, and a little bit healthier and a little less long in the tooth than Carson Wentz. Maybe Jeff George, who said, Jeff George probably still has a heck of an arm. Somebody's texting, why not Brosmer? Well, because I think you still, again, unless you're so alarmed by what you see this season and you're going to open it up to, maybe we do have a young quarterback that we can work with, but it's just not J.J. McCarthy. To me, you're going to give McCarthy more time, and that means I would still rather have somebody who's got a little bit of experience more than Brosmer does at this point. And again, let's be clear about something. If Max Brosmer had not gone to the University of Minnesota, 80% of the people who talk about him wouldn't. They wouldn't be. It's just as simple as that. That's been way too much of the, if he just played, I don't know, Cal came in as the backup, there wouldn't be this interest. Now, every time we have a backup, we, like most towns, the psychology is put in the backup because we've not seen him. We've seen the main guy make a lot of mistakes. We've seen the backup quarterback has no warts, right? Because all you do is project the best of what he represents. And you go, what do you got to lose? The other guy, we've seen the other guy. I don't like it. Let's bring him in. There would have to be, I think, a pretty significant revolution of thinking to go that route. And that would be the case whether it's here or any place else, given the positioning where J.J. McCarthy was indeed drafted. By the way, we talked about the fact that Brady, after he did the Vikings game, on Sunday. Was going to head to Mall O Hysteria to chronicle the opening of his, is it a card store? I can't remember.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's a card store at the Mall of America. Have you seen the video or the photos from the Brady appearance? We didn't get into this yesterday because we concentrated on the game, obviously. I've never seen, you know what it reminded me of? When Jimmy Butler was introduced to Wolves fans at the Rotunda, same spot, Mall of America, and all 3, 4, 5 levels up, however many levels up there are, I think it's 3, all you could see was a sea of people. Brady, it was the same way. It was jam-packed. Now, again, the mall may have been jam-packed for other reasons, but they were all interested enough to listen to Brady, I guess, about whatever he said. Maybe somebody in our audience went. If you did, text us. And did you lose yourself in his eyes? Because it looked like Minnesota lost itself in Tom Brady's eyes. Can you make the argument, as some have, that part of the reason the place was so packed is that folks realized this was probably the closest they would ever come to being near a Super Bowl winning quarterback? Is that part of it? Where you go, well, we're not going to. Yeah, so what? He won it. Maybe I can touch the hem of his garment, or at least I can yell down to him, or whatever the case may be. Maybe that's it. That's what Brady represents, correct? And I don't even think he talks. Did he ever call himself 12? He's got a line, TB12, right? But I don't think he ever called himself 12. Maybe he did, and I don't remember. Yeah, here it is. Was there at the card vault. It was a zoo. He left 5 minutes before we got in the store to get his autograph for my son. Waited in line forever. Damn it. That's rough.
That's tough.
Think you're going to get... I'm a little disappointed Brady didn't stay for everybody. Aren't you? Isn't that the rule?
He'd still be there.
Well, you might be right about that. And he did bring up during the broadcast his Minnesota ties. Where his mother is from. What's the town? Is it called Browerville? Double check the town that Tom Brady said he spent summers in as a kid. His mom is from this particular town. And he talked about fishing, the whole bit.
Browerville?
That's what I called it. Am I wrong?
Browerville.
Is that correct?
That's what I've got.
Yeah, that's what I got. Browerville. Correct. That's it. In fact, I think there was one year where Garzi and I tried to find somebody from there. Maybe we even had somebody on who has some connection to the Brady family. So maybe we adopt them. Maybe that's what we're trying to do after the fact, is to a certain extent, he's kind of one of us because of what he, all the time that he, as a kid, apparently spent here in, where is Browerville? Can you tell?
It's just north of Sauk Center, is what I'm seeing. So you're on your way up.
Yeah.
To the great north.
I'm disappointed Brady was not on sermons on Sunday. Doesn't he know who you are? We efforted it, didn't you? You tried hard, didn't you, to get Brady?
Tried my best.
You tried your best, and I think we kind of probably came up empty, unfortunately. He caught sunfish just like we did, says a texter. A lot of people, I think, already knew this, but perhaps some didn't, and they heard it flat out during the broadcast, and you could tell they were beaming. There were people just beaming at his desire to connect himself, Tom Brady, to the great state of Minnesota. Think about it. As good as it gets, isn't it?
Him, John Madden, there's all one of us.
He didn't win
mortality.
But he didn't win the bowl here, correct?
No, they lost that one.
They lost that one. That was Eagles,
special.
right? Yeah, Philly special. Let's do this. Let's pause. Bottom of the hour break. We'll get caught up. Great guest lineup today. Seifert on the purple at 4:15, and Luigi to talk hockey. How about the Red Hot Minnesota Wild? They've definitely heated up since the last time, especially since the last time Luigi was on with us. So that'll be part of the conversation. And a really juicy, if internet generated, Wolves trade rumor that we absolutely need to discuss as well. No reason to believe there's any truth to it, but kind of fun, at least yet, kind of fun to think about as well. So all of that and more, keep the text coming. Back in a
The Wild are throwing it back in style. You can catch them in their 78s as they take on the Carolina Hurricanes this Wednesday. Don't miss the vintage vibes and big-time hockey. You can score your tickets today at wild.com/tickets, wild.com/tickets.
There's an element to circumstantial, and there were some opportunities that the way the Bears were playing the other day. You know, I know a lot of folks want more runs on some of those 3rd and 2 to 3s, and they had 7 players on the line of scrimmage. You know, we got 6 to block them unless you're going to magically,
I get it.
Unless you're going to magically create another player or ask Justin Jefferson to go down there and block one of those guys.
Kevin Byard the third.
Then the only way to equalize those numbers out is to run your quarterback, which many teams in this league do.
Interesting. Maybe KFC podcast the show. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it can be a numbers game. There's no question about that. You don't want to be stubborn, although I think what some of the best teams do is if they have enough faith in whatever they're attempting to do and they have a quarterback who is as erratic as McCarthy is thrown, that they go, well, we might have to force it a little bit. I mean, it's 2 yards on 3rd and 2. That, you know what you get? If you get the 2 yards, you get a fresh set of downs. Fresh set of downs. We heard that from Adam Thielen yesterday. We need more plays. So you get them however you can get them. I said yesterday, though, I have no complaints with how much we ran. I don't know what the final number was. I really have no complaints with how much we ran. I thought we ran at better times, at the right time. I know the irony is there are people bitter that we didn't run more to drain the clock on that last touchdown drive. And I got to tell you, I'll come to any play caller's defense when it comes to that nonsense. You have to score, right? You just, in a perfect world, you leave 4 seconds on the clock. Right? Because then you can kick the ball deep. But you can't be that cute. You have to, whatever, if you end that drive with a touchdown, you have succeeded. The notion that, because then you are asking to run. Now, again, the previous touchdown, 2-play drive after the long punt return, 2 runs. Worked very well. So, might you have included more of that in the mix? I guess that's possible. But guess what? You could have scored on the first running play, too, once you got down in scoring position. So, and you would have run into the same problem. I'm not in the group that gets bitter with somebody in terms of how they score a touchdown. I think that's a little nonsensical and a little bit too easy after the fact. By the way, Javon Curse was the sack rushing edge rusher that I wanted the Vikings to draft the Culpepper year. Will you double check what number in round 1 Culpepper went?
I think
it was late first round, was it not?
Culpepper was taken 11th.
Oh, not
overall.
that late. Okay, 11th. Yeah, 11th pick.
Javon Curse went 16th.
Yeah, and Curse was there, and they needed a pass rusher. He would have helped them big time. But again, it's hard to argue with the quarterback position. Now, we were reminded one of Dante's weaknesses was small hands. Enormous guy. What are his dimensions listed at in the rot? Is it 6'5", 240? 6'4", 240?
I've got it as 6'4", 260.
Yeah, he was built like a linebacker. You know that whole bit about tacklers getting out of the way because they didn't want to tackle Adrian Peterson? It wasn't that different with Dante in his prime. He was a load, man. He was extremely strong and a terrific runner. But yeah, we used to kid about it. Small hands. He did have some fumbling issues, did Dante. There's no question about that. But he was at no point during his rookie season was he as overwhelmed as J.J. McCarthy has been at almost every point through the first 4 or 5 games. There's no question about that. KOC doesn't podcast the show because the Bumper to Bumper show is no longer podcasted. Why? What's that about? Is this the new system?
Yeah, we're figuring stuff out.
All right, so we're in process. I mean, this isn't permanent, we're just working through the kinks of a new system? Is that the deal?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we could say that publicly. That's okay. We don't want people to get frustrated. So we're having some challenges with how this is coming together. Is that fair to say?
We've decided to change the way that we're doing things, and it's
just so far not
the way that we want it
working.
to.
So don't give up on us. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. But if we run 12 personnel, they know we are running. I'm convinced KOC has a really hard time admitting even himself he's wrong. Well, he hasn't been willing on the running game historically. And I've said you can go through all the other coaches from the same tree from which he originates, and they all have a greater respect. I think they enjoyed calling running plays more than he does. I just don't think he does not get the quarterback whisperer high from calling running plays. I just think that's sort of, to a certain extent, the way he is a bit wired. I remember Dante running straight into Derek Brooks and winning, scoring a touchdown. Dante was a monster. Yeah, he was. There's no question. Here's my favorite. I'm averaging on this show 4 of these a day. Calm down, guys. First 5 games, Peyton Manning, 1 for 5. Does that mean, what does 1-5 mean?
The wins and losses?
Must be, but he said first 5 games. Isn't that 6 games?
That would be 6, yes.
6 touchdowns, 8 INTs. J.J. McCarthy, 2 and 3, 6 touchdowns, 8 INTs. Will you do me a favor? Find out what year Peyton Manning was drafted. And then once you find that out, let me know, and then I have another follow-up question for you when you're doing your Peyton Manning
98.
research. Okay. Will you look up the Indianapolis Colts record for the 1997 season? The season before they took him in the 98 draft. What did the Colts finish in 1997?
They were 3-13.
Oh, I see. 3-13, you say?
Yes.
What were the Vikings this past year? Was it 14-3?
Almost the exact opposite.
I see. Okay. That interestingly, every time I get these comparisons, that's left out. I'm sure it's just an accident. I'm sure it has nothing to do with with whatever point that you're trying to make. That it's immaterial what team that he had around him or what he might have inherited that might have, in the case of Peyton Manning, contributed to some of those struggles. Some of them might have been of other reasons, but there's a number of quarterbacks we hear from that were drafted number 1 overall. And if you're drafting number 1 overall, unless you make a deal with some stupid team that gave up their number 1 pick, the team with the most losses the year before is the team that's going to get that player, right? I mean, that's generally the way it's supposed to work. Dante did not have small hands. He had short fingers. That's more information than I remember. I wonder if we should ask next time we have Marty Wexler III on what he remembers about Dante Culpepper's measurables. If he had, I'm wondering if he predicted the great promise that he showed early in his career. And again, that injury changed everything, the significant injury that changed everything for Dante Culpepper. That is indeed for sure. All right, let's get back on schedule. What was the other story I wanted to come back with? It's a juicy one, too. Not related to Wolves trade. It'll come to my head, I hope. But I hope it'll bring you back. I think it was something fairly controversial, if it'll indeed come to me. And we'll prepare for Kevin Seifert at 4:15. Louis, to talk about the hottest. Are we the hottest team in hockey right now, or is that exaggerating it a little bit?
Maybe a touch.
But top 5, I bet. We got to be one of the 5 hottest teams in hockey.
They're on the rise.
Yeah. Are we in the playoffs yet if the season ended today? I don't think we've risen that far yet, have we?
Not quite.
But we'll talk to Luigi about all of that as well when he joins at 5:30. Don't go away.
The Fan and the Vikings are teaming up for Toys for Tots. You can join us live at Shields and Eden Prairie Tuesday, December 2nd from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. for our annual broadcast presented by Unreal. Bring a toy, spread some joy, and if you're one of the first 50 donors to each show, you'll receive a sweet KFAN Unreal Winter Beanie. KFAN.com/toys for all the details.
It came to me during the break what I wanted to get to next. Let me preface this by stating the obvious. I love Fox 9. Worked for Fox 9 for a long time. I think it's the best run local TV station in town, and it's not even close. Love working with folks there. In a time where local TV news, a lot of stations are hurting. That station is doing very well. You prepared for the butt?
What?
Dan Minnesota he brought this to my attention. I didn't see it till about a half hour ago. He knew exactly what my reaction would be. Knows me too well. So this is a tweet from Fox 9 from 5 hours ago. It's snowing in parts of Minnesota. Send us your snow photos for a chance to be featured on Fox 9. And the photo they show, it's a deck in a backyard. And it's literally, you couldn't even call it a dusting by dusting standards, how much snow has fallen to that point. And you can see a little bit of a dusting on a bench. And man, we want it so bad, don't we? We just have to have it. Minnesota asking, has the committee named today's Snownami? No, but if you have experiences about today's blizzard, if you want to text us, 64686, how it went for you, if you hit a slick spot, got a little, kind of hazardous driving situation. Maybe it was in some parts. But I thought originally we were supposed to get, not a Snownami, but they were saying like 1 to 2 inches of wet snow maybe or something like that. Is that tonight or is that it already? Because now it's sunny out.
I saw it as it was supposed to be last night.
Last night, okay.
Now, I've got a couple jokes. One, I hear Apple Valley had like 5 feet.
Yes.
So there's that.
Let us know if you're in Apple Valley, how you're coping. That's one. Good callback.
And the other callback is at least Fox 9 didn't go, here's what you have to do to stay warm out there. They could have done that.
That's true. Oh, it's just so good. I get it. It's, it's a promotion age. You're looking for clicks. You're looking for people to participate, pictures, the whole bit. But this was pretty feeble. It's snowing in parts of Minnesota. Exclamation mark, of course. Send us your snow photos for a chance to be featured on Fox 9. My guess is thousands of people participated. Thousands. Here, I'm going to click on it. Let me click on Fox 9 photos. Share your photos with Fox 9. Oh, no. I thought this would show all of them. This is where I would post one. Or I would I see. So I was hoping to see the blend of photos that came in, see how many people actually participated in it. I stand by my Minnesota winter theory after having spent the last, almost 40 years here. Be 40 years next year, I think. 80. If I got here in 86, and it's 2025, next year will be 40, right? Be emotional. I stand by my working Minnesota winter theory. If we can get to December 1 without a blanket of 6 to 8 to 10 inches of snow just sitting there, I think it's all gravy at that point. I really think if you can get, because I happen to like, unlike Gardsey, I like snow around Christmas. It's part of the aesthetic for me. But it's when we get snow late October or even early November, and it's cold enough where it just stays all the way until March into April. That's where I think the winters are difficult to cope with. But if you get to December 1 and there ain't a big snow pile, then I think I would say, okay, it's December. I mean, we're going to get something at some point. What do you think of that theory? Do you abide by it or not so much?
If snow could magically not go on the roads, I'd love it. Almost 7 months out of the year.
I get that. I understand that. I'm just saying, won't you agree? It really gets old when it's sitting there stuck on the ground from,
Yes.
November 3. And because we have had that many times, right?
Yeah.
Forget the Halloween blizzard. There've been a number of other snowfalls in November. It's not that unusual for us to get November snow. Now, maybe it's less frequent these days. I haven't checked the last few years. I don't remember what last November was like.
Just my feel, not real stat. I feel like Thanksgiving is usually the time the first big one rolls around. Like I can remember a Gopher game where it was a Snow Bowl there, I think against the Badgers.
Yeah.
And usually that's when the big one hits. Yeah, if you can get to there, it's fine. But give me a little bit of fall through November would be great.
I'm with you on that. John the mail carrier. Dan, weird. I made it to work exactly the same time as I do every day. We know how we complain that people can't drive during the first snowfall. I guess we how to drive now. Snownomi update, Dan, driving home from work right now as I make my way through the South Metro and get closer to my home in Plymouth. The snowflakes are getting thicker and thicker. Wind is howling. Cars sliding everywhere. It's a war zone out here. Wish me luck as I do my best to survive a day that will no doubt go down in Minnesota history. Sadly, it was too warm for a good snowfall last night, Dan. I hope you stayed hydrated, however.
Sadly.
I should have sent them a photo of the beautiful green grass on the golf course. I was down by Red Wing, right, 612 guy, had to turn my wipers on due to it changing to water as it hit my windshield. It stopped now, and I think I will make it home safe. Are you sure it's not a spoof by Fox 9? Maybe it is. Maybe they were having some fun with it and knew very well that it was just kind of a bit. I'm not sure. Snownomi nomination, Dusty. The next Snownomi, the first Snownomi, whenever it takes place, according to Tom from Savage, has to be Snownomi McCarthy. Just didn't come to fruition, but you could see glimpses on the radar. That's pretty good. That's actually very well played. I felt a few drips of sneet while smoking this morning. Dan, how much snow did Apple Valley get? We'll hear from them later. And it kind of feels like 65 if you're raking leaves. This probably would be a good raking leaves day, right? One more chance. I don't know when the bottom's supposed to drop out from a temperature standpoint. I'm not sure. Today was pretty pleasant, I think. Overall, correct? Culpeper hand size was measured at 9.5 inches, according to Wikipedia. J.J. McCarthy hand size is 9 inches. Is that true? I have no idea. Also, I remember Josh Allen being terrible until he played the 5-0 Vikings and hurdled Barr and beat the Vikings being 15-point underdogs. Changed everything in Buffalo. So there you have it. Wild are tied, according to a hockey expert, in points for the last playoff spot, but technically lose the tiebreaker if the playoffs started today. Fortunately, the playoffs do not start today, correct?
They don't. The fan has learned.
Yeah, so we're going to be okay on that.
The Blackhawks, Vegas, Utah, Wild, Oilers all have 22 points right
Gotcha.
now.
That seems fair enough. That 1998 Colts roster looks good to me, said somebody. That's probably makes some sense. Top of the hour pause. Seaford is coming up later this hour, probably about 4:15. So a shorty until then. We'll get to some more texts. Maybe I will mention the juicy internet rumor that has no merit in any sense of like media steam, but is one of those being thrown around as maybe serving a purpose for two teams, perhaps headed in different directions. And one of those teams happens to be your 9-5 Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll get to that. And then Seifert and Louie, as I mentioned, will join at about 5:30. Top 5 at 5, big moment for Blakemore. Have you consulted with Fallness yet on what will be included?
I haven't, but I've got a really good guess because my guy is the top line center.
Oh, nice.